The Grenlec debates. Power, bright ideas.
Welcome once again to the 2023 edition of the Grenlec debates. This is the fourth round of competition, the semi-finals. Following this round, 2 teams will enter the finals. Therefore, we invite you to sit back, relax, and watch our debaters explore ideas and think on their feet. Please bear in mind that these debates are impromptu. The students are given the broad theme to research prior to the match. Then, on match day, they randomly select their motions and are given 30 minutes to prepare their presentation without assistance from their teachers or electronic channels. The theme for this round is the Grenada Revolution, the areas of focus, the achievements of the Grenada Revolution, and the demise of the Grenada Revolution. I am Ambrosia Charles, your chairperson and former Grenlec debater. I call this house to order. This match is between Westmoreland Secondary School and MacDonald College. The motion is, be it resolved that the 1983 U.S. military operation in Grenada was an intervention. For the proposition, Westmoreland Secondary School. For the opposition, MacDonald College.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed judges, my worthy opponents, good morning all. Today I have the honor of debating and addressing the topic, the Grenada Revolution. Underneath the moot, be it resolved that the 1983 U.S. military operation in Grenada was an intervention. As first speaker, I'm here to put forth points to strengthen my team's position and convince you, esteemed judges, as to why my team and I firmly agree with the moot, discussing the points of restoring order, the release of inmates in Grenada, and destabilization. Our second speaker will further solidify our stance and address the points of international concerns that led Grenada to a better place. Our rebuttal speaker will debunk and rebut the baseless claims made by the proposition and conclude our points. To truly understand this pivotal moment in Grenadian history, it is essential that we must define the key terms according to the moot. What is a revolution, sourced from the Penguin Dictionary of Sociology, is a profound or violent transformation of a nation and its political systems. Intervention, according to Webster's New Dictionary, an intervening interference of one's country in the affairs of one another, break into someone's train of thought, or come in between. Operation, according to Webster's Dictionary, the act of causing or to move into action. Let us dove into the external factors in the intervention. Restoring order in Grenada. United States intervention, October 25th, 1983. The United States, along with the coalition of Caribbean nations, launched an Operation Urgent Fury. The primary goal of this military intervention was to restore order, protect American citizens, and remove the hardline faction made by Bernard Cord. This intervention was not only for protecting American citizens, but for our great nation. The Grenada Revolution source 2013 states under the PRG reign, 650 persons were detained, 75.6% without trial or charge. It is a well-known fact that many Grenadians were unjustly jailed during the revolution. Furthermore, many of those persons were released from prison as a result of the U.S. intervention, allowing for future economic development and justice for those wrongfully imprisoned. Quote from General Huston, open quote, "The revolution detained too many people," close quote. Moreover, destabilization. The power struggle and internal discussion within Grenada, combined with the external fears and the revolution ideology alignment, create violent environment. The U.S. intervention allowed for regional peace among Grenadians and allowing the inability to manage conflict, leading to major political mistrust and chaos led by the PRG to be managed and allow for our great nation to be at peace. Grenadians received the intervention as a good thing, and as today we celebrate it as Thanksgiving. Answering the question, was the U.S. invasion a positive intervention? I think we all know the answer. The Grenada Revolution was a way of violence, unjust jail time, and death The U.S. intervention massively assisted in creating a calm and peaceful, beautiful island. With all the points presented, this is why my team and I unwaveringly stand for the moot, be it resolved that the 1983 U.S. military operation in Grenada was an intervention, also to add, to benefit our great nation. Thank you.
Pleasant morning, most esteemed judges, debaters, and members of the audience. Today, my comrades and I stand in full opposition of the resolution, be it resolved that the 1973 U.S. military operation in Grenada was an intervention. Operation, a planned military activity, intervention, interruption of a discussion or fight, all according to Oxford Dictionary. We fully oppose the resolution simply because the resolution is requiring us to consider that the military operation was an intervention. As first speaker, I will highlight the major successes of the revolution. My second speaker will then be speaking on the negative effects of the U.S. intervention. My rebuttal speaker will further solidify our stance and deconstruct the allegations of our opponents. Judges, my fellow comrades and I do not believe that the military operation was an intervention but an invasion. To commence, the Society of Grenada was under good governing by the People's Revolutionary Government. Therefore, what was the intervention for? It is evident, members of the audience, our society was vastly improved. Programs like Center for Population Education, CPE, which was used to educate adults in various communities. This program was very necessary, as prior to the program, the job of writing their names was too hard for them to do. Now imagine going to the bank to collect a check, and your only sign of identification is an X because you cannot spell your name. According to Pastor Williams, the Minister for Education during the interim government. Additionally, scholarships were offered to students to go to Cuba, Russia, Mexico, and Venezuela in fields like engineering, doctor, and dentist. Moreover, Beverly A. Steele stated a national in-training program was implemented, in which 612 untrained teachers were trained for a period of 3 years. Not only that, but our healthcare sector was improved. Prior to the revolution, our healthcare sector was a mess. A simple tooth decay was a problem. Imagine, you need a filling. You cannot even attain that. Instead, you have to take out your tooth. There were no doctors in medical centers. Corneal transplant was done here right in Grenada. There was a new law in place for all children to be immunized. 12,600 children were immunized and were very healthy and strong. Prior to this, simple diseases killed our children. Additionally, 24-hour services were put in place. Members of the audience, as we know, the health of a nation is the wealth of a nation. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, respected judges, and fellow debaters, good morning all. Today, I have the privilege of standing before you as second speaker to further strengthen my team's position and we stand with our first speaker's definition of key terms. Adding to what our first speaker said, The alignment with the Grenadian Revolution with socialist and communist nations, particularly with Cuba, due to how close Fidel Castro and Maurice Bishop were, and the Soviet Union, raised concerns in the international community. The United States viewed Grenada as a potential threat to the regional stability and a foothold on the communist influence in the Caribbean. Additionally, on October 1983, the United States, under the Reagan administration, launched Operation Urgent Fury, a military invasion of Grenada. The invasion was justified as a rescue mission to protect American medical students, but also aimed to remove a perceived communist threat posed by the PRG. In fact, the revolution was not, and I repeat, was not seen as a bad act by the Grenadians. According to Christopher Stroud, a third-rank major in the revolution, Grenadians even welcomed the Americans. When the military helicopters, also known as the Black Hawk helicopters, flew into Grenada, the Grenadians, instead of being afraid, welcomed the Americans. According to Reflections and Lessons, written by Terence Maryshow, the US invasion and the collapse of the PRG led to a return to the democratic rule in Grenada. Elections were held in 1984 and democratic governance was restored. According to Cornell University, the lack of elections meant that the governing bodies at that time were too busy fighting rather than listening to the people of Grenada's needs. Judges, my worthy opponents, in conclusion, we have presented strong arguments forward. I urge you to consider the weight of the evidence and logic presented for the moot. Be it resolved that the 1983 US military operation in Grenada was an intervention. I thank you.
A pleasant morning to my fellow debaters, the audience, and to the judges. As second speaker, I will outline my points and prove to you why our opposing stance on the resolution, be it resolved that the 1983 US military operation in Grenada was an intervention, is the correct one. My points will show the negative effects of the US intervention and show how it was an invasion and not an intervention. Ladies and gentlemen, as my first speaker rightfully said, the United States operation was an invasion and not an intervention. The negative effects of the so-called intervention show that it was in fact an invasion. Mr. Speaker, the United States military forces bombed, killed, and destroyed the lives of innocent Grenadian citizens. They did not intervene, they invaded. Their unnecessary invasion traumatized the Grenadian citizens and still affects the country mentally and emotionally to this day. To this day, people are scared to talk about this incident. To this day, because of the atrocities that the US committed. For example, a man's arm was shot off. By who? Who committed this heinous action? The United States soldiers. An intervention is a mere interruption of a fight. But judges, it is clear that the US were the ones who started the fighting. According to Pastor Christopher Williams, former interim government minister of education, the US held a secret meeting to destroy all remnants of the revolution. The tractors, they sold them. The airplanes we once had. Everything. Does this not show that the US tried to negatively affect us in the long term and try to stifle our economy and set back the great strides of our, as many have said, peaceful revolution? My comrades, as I conclude, it is clear that the US did not intervene. They unrightfully invaded our country and caused chaos. Their so-called intervention negatively affected all of the Grenadian citizens at the time, and it still does today. I thank you.
Good morning, all. My worthy opponents, your first speaker stated that you said that the US came to protect their students. But why would they need to protect their US citizens if during the 24-hour curfew they were walking free on the beaches?
My worthy opponents, the US came to protect their citizens due to the fact that during the revolution, there was major beating, major death, and under the reign of the PRG, there was major violence and political instability. So that is exactly why the US came to protect their citizens.
Their citizens. Okay, you said that all that was
And
happening.
students.
Okay, how many of these brutal attacks and so forth was happening to the students?
Brutal attacks, it doesn't matter if they experienced brutal attacks, it was to protect them in case there was a brutal attack.
Okay, so they came 4 years and 7 months later. So why didn't they come at first to protect them from what was happening?
Because, my worthy opponent, 4 years later was when the brutality was increasing and was too much.
Okay.
Your first speaker stated something along the lines. You said that it was a violent revolution. But our revolution was in fact named the Peaceful Revolution. How do you explain this?
My worthy opponent, I have to stop you there and correct you. The revolution was not peaceful due to the death on October 19th. Unjust imprisonment. So how can this be peaceful if all of these brutal things was going on?
Are you aware that the revolution period is from March 13th, 1979 to October 19th, 1983, which
I am very much aware, and are you aware that there was many violent events during the time period that you just stated?
that's why I asked you, why didn't they come before?
And my speaker here answered your question.
Okay.
Your second speaker stated that the US perceived the revolution as a threat. So if they perceived, stated that the US...
My worthy opponents, your first speaker stated at the end of her speech, the health of a nation is a wealth of a nation, and then proceeded, and prior to that, she stated all the bad health care, all the bad dental care. How can you justify this?
What I stated was prior to the PRG's reign. That was in the Gary era. But with the PRG...
My worthy opponent, what does that... I can't find any relevance to the US invasion, to the US intervention.
Our point was that because of these...
Your point was irrelevant to the move.
Can you please allow me to answer the question? Sure. Our point was that due to the development of the country, it was not necessary for the US to invade our country. That prior, we had bad healthcare and so forth, but with the PRG, they implemented different programs which aided us.
If the revolution under the reign of the PRG was so good, the US wouldn't have had a reason to invade. There was many reasons as to why they invaded, not only due to the many achievements achieved by the revolution.
Now, if you would allow me to move on to the next question, my worthy opponent. My worthy opponent, aren't we able to see both immediate and long-term positive consequences of the intervention in 1983 and how it shaped regional dynamics?
What are the positive effects that you're implementing? Because the revolution is basically not taught to us. I didn't learn about these events until this debate. So how can we say that the intervention had a good...
My worthy opponent, I'm so sorry that you didn't learn anything about the revolution, and I fail to see how that has any relevance to the mood during the US invasion.
As my second speaker stated, when they came to Grenada, they removed all of the information about the Grenada Revolution in our...
Who removed it?
The US.
What evidence, what source evidence do you have to say that?
My
it removed
second
it?
speaker stated, and it was given to us by the Minister of the Interim Government, Mr. Christopher Williams.
Under what government?
The interim government. That was the government put in place after they invaded our country.
Thank you. Please allow us to continue. My worthy opponent, don't you think it's evident that the revolution was positive, since now Grenadians celebrate 25th of October, as
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Today I join you as rebuttal speaker of the opposition. I am here to show you why you should listen to the claims of my team and not to my opponents. We cannot stand with the resolution, be it resolved, that the 1983 U.S. military operation in Grenada was an intervention. It was voiced by the proposition that the operation's main purpose was to restore order. The U.S. intervention was not positive, as we know the U.S. viewed Grenada as being a threat to its national security. They saw Grenada as not being a part of their capitalist orientation because of our ties with socialist Cuba. The intervention was not to restore order, as this was just a disguise for their true intentions. They came to rescue their fellow Americans, the same ones who were the only people allowed to walk the beaches during the 24-hour curfew. Judges, my opponent is not looking at this intervention from its true perspective. Audience, the argument is not at all reliable. My opponent also mentioned what I just stated, that Grenada was perceived as a threat. Perceived. If they were not 100% sure that Grenada was a communist state, what gives them the right to come to our country with the intention of attack? They came to get the American medical students, so should they not have come and done that and continue on with their lives? They have no rights. No rights.
Good morning, all. Let us delve into the opposing viewpoint and dissect the arguments made by those who argue against the notion, be it resolved, that the 1983 U.S. military operation in Grenada was an intervention. Your first speaker alluded to the fact that literacy was improved, scholarships were given, the healthcare sector, it was improved by the revolution, curing various diseases which were common at that time. But your flaw-filled allusion, it was decisively counteracted by the fact that the U.S. intervention occurred on October 25th, 1983. This was after the revolution. The so-called U.S. invasion was not an invasion, but in fact, it was an intervention, as the goal of their intervening was to restore order, restabilizing the country's affairs. Your second speaker tried to bring forth the argument that the U.S. invasion bombed and killed many people, causing people to fear up to this day about speaking about the revolution. Our first and second speaker unwaveringly counteracted this opposition with the points that this intervention sought to restore peace within the country, which involved removing all the authoritarian and communist rulings at that time. October 25th was the day the U.S. came, which is now celebrated as Thanksgiving. How can you say that the intervention was bad if we today celebrate this time as a positive and a day of togetherness? Judges, opponents, and those of the audience, we rest our case emphasizing that the U.S. intervention restored order. It stabilized the country's affairs, giving us that positive, happifying time of Thanksgiving on October the 25th. We rest our case.
And the winner is Westmoreland Secondary School. Congratulations on winning this match and moving to the final round. Thank you for joining us. Do tune in again for a complete coverage of the finals.
The Grenlec debates. Powered Bright Ideas.